We're back. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the top 3 money traps to avoid by age. So when you're starting to build wealth, the biggest thing you want to do is avoid money traps at all costs. And there's a bunch of them out there. They're actually ingrained in most people's culture. So you want to do everything in your power to avoid these common money traps by age. So we're going to start off with the 20s. So the first one in your 20s is waiting to invest. Your dollars are so incredibly valuable in your 20s because you have the greatest asset of all, which is time. Just think about that for a second. Every single dollar that you spend is worth somewhere between $70 and $88. So if you spend $1 on something, you're going to be spending between $70 and $88. It's absolutely incredible. So you need to start investing as soon as possible. A lot of people think they can wait and they have time before they have to start investing, but this is one of the most powerful things that you can do is start investing as early as you possibly can. And let me give an example of this. Say, for example, you start investing $500 a month into your Roth IRA. Well, in 30 years, that Roth IRA is going to be worth over $1 million, but that $1 million is going to be tax-free dollars. This is the amazing power that you have investing your money early. The second thing in your 20s is you want to avoid racking up high interest debt. Now, high interest debt is an absolute wealth killer. The last thing you want to do is rack up this high interest debt and have to worry about paying off that debt over time because debt takes away from your wealth building ability. So if you have to rack up high interest debt, it is something that's really going to hold you back if you want to build wealth over time. Anything above 6%, you want to get paid off as fast as possible. Anything below 6%, we consider low interest debt. And with that low interest debt, you want to pay the minimums and then invest the difference over time because mathematically, you'll come out on top. The third thing you want to avoid is comparing your financial life to others. You're going to see a lot of people on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube who are balling out and living the life that you may want to live. And they may be around your age, but you want to stop comparing your life to others. Everyone is on their own path, and you don't want to compare your beginning to someone else's middle. So when you compare your life to others, all that does is just bring on stress, depression, all those other things. You want to avoid that at all costs. Focus on yourself, focus on building wealth over time so that you can change your family's life. Now let's jump into the 30s. Oh boy, the 30s, the messy middle, the time frame where in your 30s, there's a lot of things going on. You may be getting married, you may be having kids, and you are at the busiest point in your life. In fact, a lot of people's careers accelerate in their 30s as well. So most people in their 30s are extremely busy. And so what you want to do is avoid common money traps that happen in your 30s as your income starts to increase and as you can afford more things. The first thing is do not overspend on a car. So a car is a depreciating asset, and it's an asset that over time goes down in value. You want to avoid overspending on a car at all cost. The reason for this is it doesn't help you build wealth whatsoever. Now, you can have a nice car, but your income has to match that car. So you want to make sure that it is affordable for you. So one rule of car buying that we love here is the 28-3 rule. And what this rule means is that you put 20% down on the car. The car's payment every month is no more than 8% of your gross income, and you only keep that loan for 3 years. This ensures that if you want to retire early or you want to retire really fast, that you can stay within these parameters and be able to retire really fast. Now, if you don't want to retire early, then you can bump these numbers up slightly. Number 2 is buying a house that's way too expensive. You want to make sure that you get a house within your price range that you can absolutely afford. And here at Master Money, we always talk about this. You want to keep your housing expenses at 30% or less of your net income. Meaning 30% or less needs to go to your mortgage, your electricity, and anything else associated with your housing cost. That way, you do not become house poor as you start to build wealth. So if you go out home buying and you're spending over 40% on your housing costs, then you are absolutely house poor. You need to reduce that cost over time so that you can start building generational wealth for you and your family. The third one is not investing enough. So a lot of conventional wisdom has said invest 10% of your income and then you will be able to build wealth. But if you invest 10% of your income, what is going to happen is that over time, it's going to take you 51 years to retire. That is not what you want whatsoever. So you need to increase that amount over time. So when you're in your 30s, we recommend at least investing 20 to 25% of your income and then growing that number as you progress through your 30s. You can increase that income by 1% every single year, and you're going to be well on your way to building wealth. Now, if you want to become financially independent, you want to bump that up to 30, 40, 50% of your income if you want to retire early. But not investing enough of your income in your 30s when you still have enough time, and this time is extremely valuable, is incredibly important. So increase that investment amount as much as you possibly can. hand. Now the 40s. So in your 40s, there are 3 things that you want to avoid. The first one is a midlife crisis. Now, midlife crises, there's a lot of studies done on these, and a lot of times people are unhappy, and that's why they go into a midlife crisis. But a midlife crisis can absolutely eat into your wallet and eat into your wealth building ability, because if all of a sudden you buy a fancy car that you can't afford, or you buy a fancy house that you can't afford, or you start doing all of these things that you cannot afford, well, then all of a sudden you've got yourself in a financial issue as you're approaching retirement age. So you want to avoid a financial crisis at all costs. Figure out why this is happening to you, why you have the urge to have this crisis, and be real with yourself. Are doing these things worth your freedom later on in life? Because for most people, the answer is no. Number 2, not having enough cash on hand. Now, I understand that cash loses value every single year when it comes to inflation and a bunch of other things. But as you approach retirement age, you want to have extra cash on hand for a number of reasons. One of which is you want to have that cash float, because when you retire, if the market goes down or the market takes a major dip, you want to be able to have some cash on hand for a couple of years so that you can live on that cash and not have to draw down from your portfolio when the market is at its lowest. It just helps you throughout retirement. It reduces stress. It reduces anxiety. So over time, you want to build up additional cash. So if you don't have cash on hand, make sure you're building up those reserve funds so that you can have a great cushion when you hit retirement age. The third one to avoid in your 40s is investing heavily in risky assets. If you're investing in crazy assets, putting your entire net worth into gold, which has no intrinsic value, or putting your entire net worth into crypto, these are not things you want to do. These are riskier, volatile assets that do not have an intrinsic value. What does intrinsic value means? That means that it has nothing backing it. It's just supply and demand. What people pay for Bitcoin is what the other person thinks that it's worth. So there's no financial statements backing it. There's no revenue backing it. You want to make sure that you are only buying assets that over time have intrinsic value and have gone up over time and have historical performance. So as you approach retirement age, you want to be stocks, bonds, real estate, whatever it is, but having those assets into place that are not risky is a huge key so that you don't have an issue when you enter retirement. And listen, if you've fallen into any of these money traps throughout time, you can always fix this problem. Money is something that it is never too late to start to catch up and start to build wealth. I believe every single person in this world can build wealth. So if you've fallen into any of these money traps, just know that there's light at the end of the tunnel. Listen, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys have any questions, leave them down below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell as well. And we will see you on the next video.